mean, it's just been in my DNA. If you know anything about Memphis, you know anything about Mississippi, you don't have to go back far to kind of know the wonderful people like Ida B. Wells, Fannie Lou Hamer, that were huge advocates for not just women around race and people of color, but immigrants and farmers and women and the underrepresented and the poor. And so that has always just been in me and led me to major in economics because I wanted to learn a little bit about money and how that ran. Did that in Boston for a stint and then went on to law school and really found passion around juvenile work, essay and gender misconduct, immigration law and things of that nature, and then landed here because of love in Atlanta and really began to do a lot of inclusion and equity work in the higher education space, in private industry, in government, personally as an entrepreneur. And so that's just kind of been all the way in me. And I think it's because of where I've come from and who I am a product of, which is my mom and dad, of course.
Totally makes sense. My mom is currently in Memphis right now. She's from that area, Somerville, Tennessee. I understand the area, but I want to talk a little bit more deeply really quick before we get into the questions as well.
Yeah.
You mentioned your upbringing a little bit, but are there just some 2 or 3 moments of that really stick to the back of your mind of even as a kid, or maybe it's in high school or college, there's just these 2 or 3 moments. I know that you went to law school. I know that you went and did your economics degree. Are there more impactful moments than that stick in the back of your mind of that really helps you be who you are right now?
Oh, yeah. You know, my mom was always kind of this neighborhood advocate. And so my father for many years was the county administrator. And so right across from his office was our county jail. And so, you know, those folks would get out from time to time and they were looking for stuff to do. They were just looking for work. Right. And so my mom was very open to having them clean up the neighborhood or clean out houses or clean cars before that was kind of a unionized or organized thing that we know it to be now, or programs that we know. She was just doing it out of the kindness of her heart because she recognized that we should not be seen as the circumstances we've been in or the actions we have taken. So I saw that very early. And, you know, some folks in my neighborhood would be looking at us all kind of crazy, like, what in the world? Why is this person that just got out, you know, cleaning our neighborhood? But that's where I began to have a relationship with folks all over, you know, whether you were the high echelon or you had just been released with your bag behind you, right? The other thing is my name is Aisha Isoki. When I was in school, I would just clench because I knew that my teachers were going to mispronounce my name. I knew it. I knew it was coming. It was going to be Alicia, Aisha. It was going to be, I'm just going to skip over your name, sis, because I don't know it. And so that made me feel not seen. And so I knew how that felt at a very young age of what it's like to not see that name tag on the carousel when you go to Disney Worlds or the events, right? So I knew that I had that experience, but then I would see my mom still loving over here. So that's where I kind of bridge this gap between I can make people seen because I know what it feels on a very small elementary scale, right? But I still remember that to this day, which means that that's impactful. If I am 40 plus, y'all don't even know my age, but if I'm 40 plus now and I'm still thinking about something in 3rd grade, that had an impact on me. Absolutely. And those really were some moments that kind of began to gel what I talk about and think about today.
I will want to say thank you, Mom, for that, for the impact, right? Because 3rd grade, and that's still, you know, holding that string today. And I totally understand. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Before we get into our full discussion, I want to ask the basic question especially for listeners that haven't been paying attention or maybe they're not from the U.S. What is DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion? Why is that the talk of the town right now? Why does that seem like that's on every news channel? Even today, as I was getting ready to talk to you and I was just checking out the script, I saw it flash up on my news. Google just announced today they're getting rid of their DEI targets.
Yeah.
Why is this everywhere, and what does that mean, and what is DEI in the beginning?
Absolutely. I think, well, first, DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Some say DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Some say DEIA, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And so I think it's important when we even open up this discussion is that we know what the terms mean. Let's start there. And then from there, understanding what is it all about? And at the baseline of DEI, or however you have heard it potentially, is that we are giving opportunities for all. We all come from different places and spaces. We all have different journeys. We all have different ways of living. And so the term really has grown out of affirmative action, equal opportunity employment. These are all laws or ordinances or codes or executive orders that were created here in the United States to ensure that all folks had an opportunity to a thriving workplace in particular. Now that has bled over into other places and spaces, into nonprofits, into your churches and spiritual places of worship. And so it's a very broad term, but at the end of the day, it is all about ensuring that all of us have an opportunity to thrive, be it in our homes, be it in our schools, be it in our workplace. Where primarily you're hearing it right now in the workplace, of course, because it is coming down from the federal government, which has entire control, if you will, over federal agencies. So that is why it is a hot topic. Our current administration does not agree with those terms and has set forth executive orders as such. However, what I'd like to say is most of us are doing DEI work. We just have some leaders out here, right, that are naming it and claiming it. But if you are ensuring that someone who is in a wheelchair has a ramp, possibly from where you work, or if you're translating for someone, you may not know how to exactly translate, but you're trying to help them out because they're ordering something on the fast food menu. If you are making sure that someone knows where their nearest church is, they just moved to the neighborhood and they don't know where their next Methodist church is and they want to attend, you're doing that work, right? You are ensuring that someone is heard and seen and valued and making sure that they can thrive in their space and place.
Thank you for that. That was actually one of the best explanations I've ever heard. And I probably am a news junkie way more than I should be. And I normally hear blah, 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 and I think people tune out. But when you say it that way of if somebody's in a wheelchair and they need accessibility, that is the work. And it's not this, for some reason, I think DEI is vilified into you're taking away from somebody else. And DEI, what your definition made it sound like we're adding more people to the party, not taking somebody out.
Absolutely. It's inclusion. It's that third grader who has a teacher that comes in and says, her name is Aisha, so let me phonetically write it for you so that when you pronounce her name the next time, you get it right. That's DEI work, right? That would have changed me. I wouldn't have had this story today. I might not even be doing what I'm doing today. I might be making a ton of money somewhere, being a big time stockbroker when I was slated to do that, in college. But because of that experience, I mean, honestly, Brian, that may not have taken me to this trajectory today, but for not having someone in the space doing that work that's so small. Yeah. It's so small, but it's so impactful.